Welcome to The Path. Through a selection of Bible readings, I want to retrace and retell some of the story of Holy Week. The following 6 short reflections attempt to walk us through one of the darkest weeks in the life of Jesus. I encourage you to read the passages highlighted at the beginning of each video. Yet better still, why not walk the entire path for yourself and read the fuller accounts of the Passion of Jesus in all 4 Gospels. This is The Path.
At dawn, Jesus is questioned by the high priests, the elders, and the religious teachers. The path brings us to the Jewish courtroom, and the entire council meets. And that is no small task if you've ever tried to call an emergency meeting at short notice, especially early in the morning as the rest of the world sleeps. This is an illegal, out-of-hours courtroom setting, but desperate times calls for desperate measures. For these leaders, time is precious. They need a result, and they need it fast. You see, in a few short hours, a new day will begin. And if they can't fast-track this trial, then an opportunity will be lost. Because the Passover celebrations will take center stage, and the day will get busy, and Jesus will get lost in a crowd, and the opportunity will vanish. You should know the role of the high priest was to perform the sacrifices at the temple. And with a celebration like the Passover, where millions of lambs would be slaughtered, this was a crazy, busy time in a priest's calendar. They would normally retreat and spend a week in prayer and study and reflection, being careful to avoid anything that was impure in order to be what is called ceremonially clean. But there's nothing clean or holy or pure about the motives and characters hidden away in this secret trial. The High Council need to discredit Jesus, but they're struggling to get their death sentence. They hand Jesus over to the harsher Roman court system. And usually there wouldn't be much love between both these courts. But there's desperation in our story. A desperation to manipulate and take advantage and use whatever means available to remove Jesus and remove him quickly. If you read all the gospel accounts, you'll see that Jesus had 3 Jewish trials and 3 Roman trials in a matter of hours. In the religious Jewish trial, he was accused of blasphemy, accused of being God, but that's exactly who Jesus is. In the 3 political Roman trials, he is accused of inciting riots or plotting an uprising. But no one charged Jesus because Rome didn't normally step in to deal with petty local disputes. Nonetheless, through careful manipulation, false evidence, and playing off Pilate's ego and eagerness to please a crowd who the Jewish leaders had stirred up to chant, "Crucify, crucify, crucify," Jesus is violently beaten to within an inch of his life. And as the judge's hammer pounds down on the desk, a death sentence is passed. Result for these evil men. Result for the powers of hell. Can you see the path? As Jesus is led away towards a cross to suffer the most violent, bloody, mocking death, guards will push him around like some worthless object of contempt. Our path is dark and bloody. Violent men beat, whip, punch, spit upon and abuse Jesus just for fun. Jesus is nailed to a cross, one of the most painful and most excruciating and cursed forms of death. As we stand in the path, it's almost impossible to watch what is unfolding before our eyes. The sounds, the nails being driven through flesh and bones, the screams, the gasping for breath, the vile, abusive words and taunts as Jesus hangs there, but not for his sins, for our sins. In Isaiah 52 we read, "Many were amazed when they saw Jesus. His face was so disfigured he seemed hardly human. And from his appearance, one would scarcely know he was a man." Or look at Isaiah 53. "Who has believed our message? To whom has the Lord revealed his powerful arm? My servant grew up in the Lord's presence like a tender green shoot, like a root in dry ground. There was nothing beautiful or majestic about his appearance, nothing to attract us to him. He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with deepest grief. We turned our backs on him and looked the other way. He was despised and we did not care. Yet it was our weaknesses he carried. It was our sorrows that weighed him down. And we thought his troubles were a punishment from God, a punishment for his own sins. But he was pierced for our rebellion, crushed for our sins. He was beaten so that we could be whole. He was whipped so that we could be healed. All of us, like sheep, have strayed away. We have left God's path to follow our own. Yet the Lord laid on him the sins of us all. He was oppressed and treated harshly, yet he never said a word. He was led like a lamb to be slaughtered, and as a sheep is silent before the shearers, he did not open his mouth. Unjustly condemned, he was led away. No one cared that he died without descendants, that his life was cut short in midstream. But he was struck down for the rebellion of my people. He had done no wrong and had never deceived anyone, but he was buried like a criminal. He was put in a rich man's grave. Today is Good Friday. Our path is covered with violence, darkness, anguish and pain. An innocent man hangs on a cross. How can anything seem good? It's Friday and Jesus is dead.